What is up, ninjas? Kevin Daniel with That Lifestyle Ninja, and today I want to lead off with a quote, which is the number one reason people don't get what they want is because people don't know what they want. And in today's episode, I'm going to teach you exactly how to figure out what you want to do with your life to live the happiest and most fulfilling existence you can. So don't even think about going anywhere. You make me. Alright guys, let's get into it. I'm going to make you a really quick promise. I promise you this is going to be the most actionable video you've ever seen from like a self-help perspective on how to actually understand yourself, understand what you really want, what is most important to you, and then how to immediately put into action a real plan to make that happen, make yourself really start moving towards and have every little area of your life moving towards your dream life and how to accomplish it, right? And so we are going to really have an understanding by the end of this video. I promise you, if you take it seriously, right, we're going to have an understanding of what we want out of life, what makes us feel fulfilled, and how to be most happy. So if you guys do follow my channel, you probably know that I'm kind of more about the, take action now, immediately implementable stuff, right? Like how to make money on Amazon, how to use Shopify, how to use Facebook ads to make more money, to have more freedom, to be able to travel the world and do what you want, right? But there is a duality between having the actionable knowledge, right, to create your dream life, having the know-how, but then also having the motivation and understanding of what your dream life is, right? Because, if you don't know what your dream life is, then how could you possibly get it? So we're going to go over both. My channel mainly up until now has kind of dealt with the how to make money, like real tutorials really to like get you moving and get you started and teach you. This video is going to teach you to know what you want out of life, what makes you feel happiest, what makes you feel most fulfilled, and then we're going to go over exactly how to move every area of your life towards that singular goal, right? This video is going to be a little bit different, obviously, than my other ones. It's definitely more personal for me. I'm normally a very private person. I don't share, much about anything about money or my personal life or anything like that. But to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous to share this, but I think that, it'll help people kind of seeing me do it, seeing my mind, my thought process behind filling out these sheets, these questionnaires that I've collected from a ton of different resources, right? And to really, and if it helps one person figure out what they want to do with their life, then obviously it's worth me being a little bit embarrassed, right? And so let's actually kick things off. So how are you going to find value from this video? I used to kind of be that guy who never really took anything seriously. If there was any type of like self-help books or anything that I was reading, they'd say pause the video and write down these 3 things, right? I would never do it. I was kind of like that, butthead that just literally like rolled my eyes and never took anything seriously. And really, you're not going to be able to make change. You're not going to be able to actually get value from this unless you try to take it seriously, right? So be a thinker, be a new experience taker, be a meaning finder. Find value from this video, but I promise you guys, you're going to need to actually take it seriously. So we're going to go through a little bit of my private life, whether that's a good or a bad thing, I guess we'll see, but hopefully it helps you kind of see my thought processes and apply the same concepts to yourself. And I want you guys to promise me you'll at least try to take these seriously, right? Pause your video if you have to put your phone on airplane mode, right? If you have to lock everyone out of your room, take it seriously, because if you actually do know exactly what you want from life, then everything really, truly, honestly starts to change, guys. And if you don't take it seriously, really, the only person you're cheating is yourself. All right, guys, final thing, and then we're going to get into the content. Let's quickly talk about how we are going to structure this video. So first, we really need to understand what is important to us, because if we don't know what we like, what we love doing, what makes us happy, then how could we actually structure all of our life choices to move towards that goal? Then we are going to try to understand why we are doing what we are doing, right? Why do you live where you live? Why do you have the job you have? Why do you make the choices you make? Because when you understand the why, then you can start to actually understand how to create more of what makes you happy and live a truly fulfilling life, right? And so we are also going to go into some extreme scenarios, right? Kind of some things that may not be too realistic for your current life, but extreme scenarios really help you to visualize and cement what is important to you, right? Kind of like that finality when you face, death or something like that. Really, things I think become a lot more clear. And so we're gonna present a few hypothetical scenarios to try to kind of hone in on what is important to us, right? And then the last thing we are going to do is determine our values. What is important to us in order, right? How every single choice we make in life should move us closer to what makes us happy and what would be value and what makes us feel fulfilled, and every other choice we kind of leave behind us. Right? And so I love this quote right here. I think it is very, very important to actually kind of building the life you want. Before you climb the ladder, make sure it's leaning up against the right building. And what this means, to me at least, and why it resounded with me and why I think it's important to share it is, it takes work and it takes time and it takes effort to climb the ladder, right? Climb the metaphorical ladder, whether it's the corporate ladder, whether it's, the ladder, to meet the woman or man that you love, right? It takes work to actually climb this ladder. And if you're going to put in all of this work and blood, sweat, and tears and late nights and, staying up and waking up early and, driving through an hour of traffic or whatever it is, if you're going to do all of that work, then you want to make sure that your ladder, right, is leaned against the right building. You don't want to do all that work to achieve a goal that in the end you never actually really wanted. And so let's talk about some real life experiments. So we asked 3 children and 3 adults anonymously what they wanted to be on Reddit, right? And the children's response were, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be an actress, and I'm going to be an astronaut. The adults' answers were, I want to be a farmer, but I don't know the first thing about growing food. I want to be a poet, but it doesn't pay the bills. I want to be a lawyer, but I'm too old to go back to school. And so do you guys notice any differences between the children's responses and the adults' responses? The children said, I'm going to be an astronaut. They didn't say, I want to be an astronaut. They knew with certainty what they wanted to be. They had no outside forces acting on them. They had no insecurities or doubts. They hadn't been kind of, conditioned by society to feel a certain way. The adults said, I want to be, but, right? They've been conditioned by years of inner doubt, from their family or friends or society or their own insecurities. And they're kind of rationalizing to themselves, this is what I want to do. I know it, but for whatever reason, I can't actually do it. Right? And so the sooner that you kind of realize and make your inner voice what only you know that you want, right? Once you make your inner voice and what you truly want your outer voice, and you can vocalize it to yourself, right? Because I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that I wanted to help people. I always knew that I wanted to teach people, but I just didn't really know how to do it. And, I was always kind of thinking, but what if I fail? What if people don't like me on YouTube? What if, I get a bunch of downvotes or people hate me or, say mean things in the comments, right? And that sounds ridiculous because the worst case scenario is, a negative comment, which isn't really going to, kill me or anything like that. But, it's hard. It's really hard when you have those doubts, and everybody has them, and really recognizing your inner voice, your inner doubt when it's telling you, you probably shouldn't do this because you might fail, or you might not be able to turn it into a real source of income, or, for whatever reason, your inner voice, once you start to recognize it and kind of take a step back and say, hey, that's my inner voice talking. I really can do this if I actually put my mind to it, right? And the sooner you can be honest with yourself and decide what you are going to be, not what you want to be, the sooner you can actually kind of turn your wants into dreams and into reality, right? And so we're going to talk about exactly how to figure out what your inner voice desires and how to turn it into your outer voice. So knowing what you want, I think this is kind of the final point I want to talk about until we get into the questions of how to figure out what you want. For me, I kind of have always had a few friends, even like in elementary school, they knew, like, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a scientist. And a lot of that, I think, stems from, their mom or dad kind of in the same field. But, for me, it wasn't ever that obvious. At first I wanted to be a lawyer because, I probably because I was watching Law and Order and I saw, some lawyer that looked like really interesting and everybody looked up to them and all of this and that, right? But I think it's not as obvious for everyone what they want to be, right? Some people are working just so they have enough money to travel. Some people are working, so they can build an empire and become a millionaire or a billionaire, right? Some people are working to help animals or, help people overseas, like with medicine or whatever it is, right? But, not everyone has kind of found that one thing that really keeps them up at night and they obsess about and think about every day, and they just sincerely love it, right? And so the whole point of this video and the whole point of the rambling and ranting that I've done up until now is to figure out exactly what that is for every single one of us. All right, so let's get into the questionnaire. I took a bunch of different resources and kind of compiled what resonated strongly with me, to figure out for myself what was important to me and what I wanted to do with my life to feel happiest and most fulfilled. And I made it into one spreadsheet. So what we are going to do is we're going to walk through the blank questions, right? I haven't filled out any answers to it yet. We're going to walk through all of them together, kind of understand why these questions are important for figuring out exactly what we want to feel most fulfilled with our lives. And then I'm going to actually go through my filled out version. Yes, I did sit down and spend an hour or two actually going through thinking about very deeply what was most important to me, and I'm going to share that with you guys all live. So hopefully you like it and don't just think I'm like completely embarrassing, but we're gonna go through it together just so you can see exactly how I fill it out, so you can figure out how to fill it out for yourself. So let's get into the dream life worksheet. So the first question that I wanted to ask myself, right, and you should really understand for yourself is, why do I live where I live? Right? Is it because the sun and the ocean? Is it because your family? Is it because you just have always lived there and it's what's most comfortable, right? So kind of understand for yourself and really be honest here, guys, with all of these questions. If you lie to yourself, it's not going to do anything, right? And so why do you live where you live? What are you jealous of and why, right? When do you get that that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you see somebody, right? Is it because they have a super beautiful wife or husband, or, maybe you're jealous of the car they have, or, the money, or maybe you're jealous of the spirituality or the happiness that you see people have, or, maybe you're jealous of, people who have very close-knit families, or, a ton of friends, right? So figure out for yourself, what are you most jealous of? What are your values? What is most important to you? Is it, passion, ambition, enthusiasm, adventurous, spontaneity? Are you, what is most important to you in, a friend or a life partner, or in, for yourself? And guys, we are going to share this dream life worksheet, of course, absolutely for free. You guys can download it and fill it out for yourselves. I filled it out myself, and I do feel much more clear about what I want exactly and kind of how to get it. So how do you spend your free time? Do you spend your free time watching TV? Do you spend your free time on Reddit? Do you, run, or do you play sports, or do you hang out with friends and family, or do you talk to your mom and dad on the phone? Or, what are you actually occupying your free time doing, right? Not the time you're at work, not the time you have to be doing anything. What are you doing when it's completely up to you? Who do you admire, right? Do you admire Barack Obama, because he became president or he was loved by so many people? Or do you, admire Michael Jordan for, basically conquering a sport that so many other people have tried to? What creates admiration for you? Maybe it's one of your childhood teachers or your mom or dad for how hard they work, right? But figure out who you admire and why you admire them, right? And when are you happy? Are you most happy when you're on the basketball court? Are you most happy when you're at school? Are you most happy when you're watching my YouTube videos, right? I mean, that's obviously the answer to that one. But, when are you most happy? And you got to think to yourself why that is. These are a little bit more practical. I wanted to make it as tangible as possible, kind of that lifestyle ninja status. And so do you want to work with employees and or a boss? Do you want to work in the corporate structure, right? If you guys do follow my stuff, you kind of know that I'm very against the kind of average, the status quo, working a 9 to 5, right? But some people like that, and that's okay, right? If you like having structure, if you like having somebody pay for your healthcare, if you like getting the same amount of money in a paycheck every single week, right? If you like that comfort, and if you like that habituation that comes with a corporate job, then maybe you want that, right? So be honest with yourself. Do you want to work for yourself? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to be able to work from a laptop anywhere? Do you want to have an office with people, right? Do you want to travel for work, right? And so I included this one because it's actually a really major part of a lot of people's lives. I know it was for me when I was working at PwC, right? Because I was traveling to, different places in Boston where I would be gone for, a week or more at a time. And I was away from all of my family and friends in San Francisco. I was away from my girlfriend at the time, and it was really hard, and I hated it. I truly, truly hated it because, it just kind of disconnected the whole flow of my life. I couldn't go to the gym I wanted. I didn't have, any type of routine, and I really hated it. But some people love it, right? Some people love getting to see new places and have your company pay for it and pay for all of your meals and things like that, right? And so do you want to travel for work? I think it can have a major impact on your overall life, right? Do you want to be an influencer for your passion? Do you want to be somebody that people look up to, right? Do you want to be like somebody on YouTube that you teach people how to meditate? Or maybe you're on Instagram and you have a dog page where, you share all of the cutest dogs in the world. Do you want to interact with people in the way that an influencer does, right? Do you want to be a thought leader, or would you rather just be, a content consumer? Both have their positives and negatives. And do you want to build a company of your own and assume all of the responsibility that comes with that, right? Because I think a lot of people kind of see like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg and all these entrepreneurs that make it so big and it seems so easy from an outside perspective, right? You don't ever see all of the hardships and the pain of losing partners and all of the nasty parts of ownership and other companies trying to screw you over or like sue you or all of these different things, right? Because the more and more successful you get, the more and more people that you have that want to drag you down, right? So some people would just prefer to have a simpler life and are comfortable and content with $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $25,000 a year, whatever it is, right? And so you don't necessarily always have to go for gold and want to be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever it is. So you have to understand for yourself what level of responsibility you want from a financial and from a working perspective. Let's get into the finality scenarios. I think finality scenarios really do the best job above anything else in kind of finding clarity in those moments before a final situation like death, right? And so I'm going to read just a short part of a quote from one of my idols growing up. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you have read this before, if this did touch you in the same way, then let me know in the comments. I love hearing about how these type of situations really affect other people, because I know for me, this quote, probably more than anything else I've ever read, has affected me deepest in how I choose to live my life. I reached the pinnacle of success in the business world. In others' eyes, my life is an epitome of success. However, aside from work, I have little joy. In the end, wealth is only a fact of life that I am accustomed to. At this moment, lying on the sickbed and recalling my whole life, I realized that all the recognition and wealth that I took so much pride in have paled and become meaningless in the face of impending death. Whichever stage in life we are at right now, with time, we face the day when the curtain comes down. Treasure love for your family, love for your spouse, love for your friends. Treat yourself well and cherish others. Right? And so let's present a few scenarios to kind of really visualize and cement this for ourselves, what is most important. So scenario one, you have 1 month to live. What do you do, right? You're going to die. There's no escaping it, right? You're going to die. How would you actually spend that month? And really think about it, guys. Don't just give it like 1 second of thought, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep working because you're passionate about what you do, right? Are you going to move to a small little cabin next to a lake with your family? Are you going to, reach out to the girl or the boy that you always loved before but never did because you have so much time, right? When you have a limited amount of time, you make better use of it. That's just a fact. That's why everyone has, deadlines at work. It's just human nature. When you have 1 month to live, really what you want to do most becomes very clear, right? And so scenario two, write your own obituary. And I know this is kind of, dark, but it really does help to kind of visualize what would you want to be remembered as? What would you want your friends and family to say about you and what mattered most to you, right? When they were reading your obituary, what would you want to be remembered for, right? Would you want to be remembered as somebody who was happy or, that always took advantage of the moment, right? Or lived passionately in the present, right? Would you want to be remembered as somebody who worked hard and who loved their family and friends? And so write your own obituary and actually do it, right? Write it as if it's your best friend writing it, or your mom or your dad or your loved ones or your kids or whatever it is. Write your own obituary. So scenario three, if money was no object, how would you live your life differently, right? So if you all of a sudden won the lottery, you hear people all the time, if I hit the lottery, I would, move to the Bahamas, or I would buy a mansion in Hawaii, or whatever it is, right? If money were no object, how would your life change? Would you stay in your current job? Would you stay in your current city or state, or would you keep your same house, or would you keep your same car, or what would be different about your life if money was no object, right? Because this question really isn't actually about money. It's about thinking about what your limitations are, because we kind of tend to put our aspirations and actions in relation to our financial reach, right? And so if you had unlimited money, how would your life change, right? And so now we're going to actually get into some values. All right, so after a lot of research, these are kind of the 18 things that I found that were most important to the most people. So obviously there's going to be some that might not be, as applicable to you, but in general, human beings find these 18 things most important, right? And so the exercise here is going to be to actually put these in order from 1 to 18, right? The top 6 are the essential, right? Maybe it's family, maybe it's prestige and status, right? And be honest with yourselves, because, just because you think that it might be, bad to put prestige and status as number 1, if that's what's most important to you, then that is what's most important to you. So be honest with yourself, right? Top 6 are essentials, middle 6 are nice to have, and you can drop the bottom 6, right? Focus on what's most important to you. And we are going to go through exactly, how I did this for myself, and I'm going to share, all of the juicy details and embarrass myself so it can hopefully help some of you guys, right? And so what are your values? First, I want you guys to go through, choose all of the ones that pop out at you, right? You don't need to choose every single one, but, just choose the ones that pop out at you most, right? Maybe you need people to be accountable, right? Maybe you need adventure in your life. Maybe, you need selflessness from your spouse or your friends or whatever it is, right? So find the ones that most resound with you and write them down, right? And the last thing that we're going to do is summarize everything, right? And the way that I did this was actually very difficult. This was probably the hardest part for me to actually create a summary, but I found that, after all of the questions and all of the exercises and everything that we've gone through, the best way to kind of summarize this for yourself is the following 3 questions, right? What in the end is the most important to me? And look back through your answers, right? Once you've completed this, again, we will have this worksheet available for everyone to download and figure out and, fill out for themselves if they want to. But, go back through your answers, start to look at where you're seeing similarities, right? Maybe I chose honesty in multiple places, or that's what's most important to me. Or maybe, I want to live in a tropical place, or, it's very important to me to have a nice car, or whatever it is. Look for similarities throughout your answers and then write down what in the end is most important to you, right? And how do you get that? And I want to be super specific here, guys. I want to literally lay out, right, the next 5 years. What do you want exactly? I know for me, right, I've always wanted to own my own music venue. I've always wanted to bring artists, right, and other creative people and people who love and are passionate about the music they create. I've always wanted to facilitate that and own a music venue. And I know that's random, but we're going to go through all of it. And I want you guys to be super specific here. And then what do you need to do to feel fulfilled, right? Because in the end, whether it's, someone dying, right? If they lived a truly fulfilled life and they were happy, then it's the most peaceful, beautiful thing in the world, right? But if you never found fulfillment, you could be the richest person in the world, but you could be super poor at the same exact time, guys. So let's go into my actual answers and try to be nice to me, guys, because this is the first time I've ever made a video like this. So I hope it's helping somebody, and I hope that watching me actually fill out and explain my own answers can help you do the same and figure out what exactly you want in life and how you are going to be most fulfilled and happy. So let's get into it. All right, guys, let's dive into the life of Kevin David. So why do I live where I live? Currently, I live in Denver, Colorado, and really, if I'm going to be honest with myself, the reason that I live here is because one of my best friends growing up lives here. I've lived here before, in between Asia and South America. To be honest, I don't really like the weather in Denver, so it's not somewhere that I would ever feel that I was going to live long term. It mostly is just out of comfort, and it's because one of my best friends lives here that I'm most comfortable with. Right, I'm from the USA, and kind of my comfort zone is here. Whether or not Denver is the most fun city that I've been to, absolutely it's not. No offense to anyone else out in Denver. I do like Denver during the summer, but it's too cold for me. So the reason that I live here is because I'm comfortable, and it's just comfortable to me. And so that's probably not the right reason, but let's move on. What am I jealous of and why, right? So I like to actually pick a real person here who I think about, right? And mine is Evan Spiegel. So he is, for those of you who don't know, he's the Snapchat founder, right? He went to Stanford. He's a really smart dude. And he has a lot of the things that I've always really admired. He runs a tech company. Software has always been something that I'm super interested in, right? It's like the new and cool thing. Whether or not it's cool still, or you're making money from the stock, it doesn't really matter, right? We're talking about Evan, right? He's now currently married to a Victoria's Secret supermodel, and so he has immense wealth. He has a lot of the power and prestige that comes kind of with going with, taking a company public, being, the leader in a new and innovative company, and he has an amazingly beautiful wife, right? And so those are the kind of the things that truly I'm jealous of. I'm jealous of people that have, all the attention and that people look up to, and, that are very smart and obviously extremely successful from a financial perspective. Right. So what are my values? To me, passion is key, right? Because people feed off passion. If if you aren't passionate, then why would anybody want to listen to you? What's important for me is, kind of putting my passion out there, and hopefully somebody out there is finding value from it, because if they're not, then maybe I should stop this channel. But passion is very important to me. Exploration. I love to travel. I love to see new cultures. I love to explore the world, because kind of to me, I would never feel truly comfortable kind of settling in one place unless I had kind of seen everywhere. So I want to explore the world. Honesty is key, especially like in relationships. For me personally, I could never be with somebody who had lied to me, just because in the end, right, it's so easy to lie, and really all you have at the very bottom level and most important level and structural level of a relationship, whether it's with friends or family or a loved one, is honesty. Because if people are lying to you and they're cheating on you, or they're trying to steal from you, or whatever it is, right, then you don't want them in your life. So honesty is super important to me. Spontaneity. I love being spontaneous, right? I hate when people are too set in their ways. Like for me, if I was with somebody and we decided to go to Greece tomorrow, then we'd go to Greece tomorrow, right? I don't like the whole, but I have these responsibilities and this and that, and I could never do that right now. I could never be that spontaneous, right? It's very important to me to have that spontaneity. And obviously learning and teaching, right? Learning is just a kind of a continuous thing for your whole life, right? The most productive people and the most successful people, I think the main difference to me is productive downtime, right? The people who are constantly learning instead of playing video games or smoking weed or watching movies or whatever it is, right? If you're productive in your downtime and you love learning, you truly love it, you enjoy it, then you're going to be successful no matter what, pretty much, right? And so teaching is one of my biggest passions. Obviously, that's why I created this channel. That's why I started my Amazon FBA course. That's why I'm creating more courses to help people, right? To teach them how to escape the 9-to-5 or escape, the financial dependency that too many people I think have, and create that kind of, income online to really get that financial freedom, right? And so how do I spend my free time? I spend my free time exercising. It's very important to me. I'd probably dissolve into an anxious mess if I didn't have the gym, right? And so exercising, traveling, obviously, meeting new and interesting people, whether that's, new beautiful women, or if I'm dating or if I'm single, right? Or, well, not if I'm dating, but, I spend my time on Reddit, which is probably my least productive habit that I have, but I just enjoy Reddit. When I'm laying in my bed at night, going to sleep, I'll scroll through the front page, and I've been on Reddit for 4 years. I really feel a part of the community. I think they've done a great job there. I enjoy reading. I probably don't read as much as I should, but I do try to read whenever I can. And I never stop thinking about my business. I never, ever stop thinking about my Amazon businesses. I never stop thinking about That Lifestyle Ninja, my YouTube channel, my business, right? My coaching business, where I want to take it, things like that, right? So who do I admire? To be honest, I admire billionaire entrepreneurs, and I know that's very specific, but the more specific you can be here, the more the better, right? So that's Evan Spiegel, that's Mark Zuckerberg. More so Evan, just to be completely honest with myself and put myself out there. Evan is more of a partier, right? He'll throw these crazy parties that all the Hollywood elite go to and things like that. Mark is very much more humble and kind of down to earth. He doesn't really seem to ever party. He drives an Acura, right? For me, I enjoy kind of that flash. I enjoy I enjoy showing my success and showing how hard I've worked in the same ways that Evan does. And I enjoy the idea of creating something, right? Whether it's creating my Amazon FBA course, or whether it's creating an Amazon business, or creating my YouTube channel. I just like creating. I like formulating things from an idea into something real, right? So that's who I admire. When am I happy? I'm happy when I'm in the sun, near water, right? The ocean, with friends and family that I love. I love experiencing new things. I like learning Spanish. I love going to see waterfalls, right? I love looking at the pyramids of Giza, and I love going to Thailand and going through Asia and going to Cambodia. I'm happy when I'm making money. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I enjoy the act of creating dollars and all of the imaginary numbers out there in the banking system. I enjoy creating money. I enjoy making it. And I love exercising, and I love just being with people that I care about, right? Who do I want to work with employees and or a boss? I'll never have a boss again. I hated it. I hated having somebody watching what I was doing, critiquing me, criticizing me, putting me down in any way, right? I hated having to be in a certain place at a certain time. And to be honest, I don't really enjoy having employees either. I prefer kind of to have it very centralized. I like using contractors and people that I can just hire to do certain tasks, and then I like handling everything for myself. And that's probably because it's very hard for me to give up control. Maybe I've just never found full-time employees that are as passionate and work as hard and care as much and love as much my business as I do. And I don't know if that exists, or maybe I'm just too hard on people. I don't know, but just I can't believe I'm being this honest in front of 50,000 people, but that is just how I feel about working, with employees or a boss. I'll never have a boss again. And employees is something that I probably need to work on a little bit harder to give people a chance to prove, their hard work. And maybe I'm a little bit too hard on people. I don't know. Do I want to travel for work? Absolutely not. This is one of the main reasons that I even, really broke away and became an entrepreneur. I hated the disruption of my, my life and being able to see my friends and family and sleeping in a hotel by myself every single night, and just waking up in the morning to kind of go, interact with people that I didn't really like, talking about things that I didn't really care about, right? And so this is one of the ones that resonated most soundly with me. I never, ever again will travel for work unless it's something that I own and that I want to do, right? Like if Mark Cuban said, hey, Kev, come interview me, I would fly to Dallas, right? But that wouldn't feel like I was traveling for work because it would be what I wanted to do. And that is the beauty of creating something and working for yourself, right? Do I want to be an influencer? Absolutely. Obviously, one of the things that I love more than anything is kind of making people realize that there is a way out of, the 9-to-5 grind, or there is a way out and there is a way to achieve financial security and financial freedom. All you really have to do is figure it out, right? My next focuses are going to be on Instagram and podcasts. I don't spend enough time on those two social media platforms, and I think a lot of people really do spend a lot of time on those. I just don't use them personally myself, and so I think it's important to kind of recognize what is important, even if you yourself don't participate in it. For my business, Instagram and podcasts are going to be a major focus going into 2018. Do I want to build a company and assume the responsibility, right? So eventually I do, but not now. I'm 28 years old right now. I think for the next 2 years, what would make me happiest is kind of just traveling around the world. I love staying in hostels, right? I think it's funny. I always get comments when I say that of people saying like, Kevin, but you have XYZ amount of money. Why would you ever stay in a hostel that costs $20 a night? And the reason is because the best and the most interesting and the coolest and most amazing and beautiful people that you meet are in these hostels, right? Other travelers. I met a guy who'd been traveling for 12 straight years. Right? He had never had a home in all that time, and he just made money selling antiques on eBay. Right? I've met so many unbelievably amazing people that I would never have met if I had my own hotel room. Right? And so that's just my personal preference. But when I'm older, I definitely do see myself kind of settling down, maybe like between 31 and 35. I can see myself settling down maybe somewhere in San Diego, or if I wanted to live somewhere in Europe, and kind of opening an office and hiring employees to start a software company. Right? Because I've always wanted to do that, but just kind of what it takes to do that, I'm not quite ready to commit to that level of stability. And so for right now, I'm going to travel for the next few years. But once I kind of do settle down, I definitely could see myself, founding a company and creating, livelihoods for other people and assuming all of the responsibility that comes with that. All right, so scenario one. So I have 1 month to live. What do I do? And so this was a really hard one for me, to be honest, because, nobody likes to think about their own death. But I mean, I know what I would do. I would invite my best friends, I would invite all of my best friends and my family and everybody that I care about and who cares about me. We'd go to a tropical beach city with all of my favorite food and music, right? I would want to do some crazy stuff. I would want to go skydiving again. I would want to go bungee jumping. I've never been bungee jumping. I would want to swim with sharks. I would want to, I'd probably want to make a journal and that I would leave for my friends and family, just because it would be a devastating scenario, losing somebody that you care about so deeply. And I would want to, just give some of my final thoughts, maybe write in it once a day about how much I appreciated them, or, whatever. And I'd want to, leave that for them as something to kind of remember me by. And I would probably reach out to somebody who I really care about and who I haven't seen nearly recently enough over some really stupid stuff that, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. Yeah. And so, human nature is really funny. Just because I have more time, I'm not going to reach out to her because, but if I was going to die in a month, I would reach out to her because I knew and I know that she's one of the people that I care about most deeply, right? And so I guess maybe I should take this as a sign that I should do it now, not wait until I'm about to die, right? Live every day as if tomorrow was your last, and then you'll have no regrets. So I'm going to think about this one. I promise you guys. Scenario 2. So if I write my own obituary, and I actually did this, which is very strange to do, to be honest, but I wanted to be known as that I enjoyed every moment, that I was passionate about helping others, right? That I really honestly care about, not only my students, but everyone who watches what I do, that I'm not just trying to make money, right? I'm not in it to try to screw anyone over or anything like that. Really, the only reason that I do all of this and spend hours and hours and thousands of hours of researching all of this and presenting it in these, easy to kind of digest ways is that I want to help people. I truly, honestly do. I want people to know that I lived a full life, that I traveled everywhere, that I saw everything that I wanted to see, right? That I was a passionate person. I never let, my inner doubt or what anybody else thought dictate what I could do, right? If somebody said I couldn't do it, I'd work twice as hard to get it done, right? And that I never settled for kind of the norm or the status quo or what's average. And I would want people to know that I loved my friends. I genuinely loved every single one of my friends and all of my family and all of the people that I teach and the people that I learn from. And I want to just be remembered as fun-loving, passionate, right? I never stopped learning, and that I never stopped adventuring. If money was no object, how would you live your life differently? And so if money was no object, and this is kind of, this is a strange one because depending on what your current financial situation is now, obviously this answer might be a little bit different. But for me, I would do a lot of the same things. I would travel the world. Like I said before, I would open a music venue. I love music. Music is one of the biggest portions of my life. It helps me, when I'm going through things, or if I'm anxious or depressed or sad or happy or angry, right? There's kind of that norm that makes you kind of brings you back and makes you feel, kind of comfortable and happy again. And music for me is that, music and exercise. I would buy a big house, right? I'm just going to be honest here. I hope I don't sound like an asshole, but I would buy a big house with a pool in a few of my favorite cities, right? Tropical places, probably somewhere in Thailand, maybe Koh Tao. I would probably buy somewhere on one of the Greek islands, and I would probably buy somewhere in Rio de Janeiro. Those are probably my 3 favorite places that I've been so far. And then I would want to start kind of either a venture capital firm or some type of angel investment company where I could help other young entrepreneurs, right? And not only that, I could be an advisor to them. I love helping people with their businesses. I love thinking about new and creative ways to kind of, go about, helping people kind of get to the next step, move past those mental blocks, right? And then enable them from obviously from a monetary perspective as well. Okay, so here's my Thailand, Greece, and Rio. So you know that I actually mean that because I had that written down, but it was actually in my brain too. So what is most important to me? Rank these from 1 to 18 with no tie. So this is actually way, way harder than you probably think it is because, all of these things are important, right? Like how do you eliminate 6 of these? And so my choices, my top 6 are health and fitness, right? Without your health, nothing really matters. If you're dying or if you're so sick that you can't walk or you lose your sight, right? Then nothing else matters. But it's very hard for people to kind of take a step back and be grateful for that. Like how often do you wake up in the morning and say, "Wow, I'm so grateful that I don't feel sick." Right? But when you are sick, you're like, "Oh, I wish all I wish in the world is that I felt better." Right? And so it's very hard to kind of be grateful for what you have, but it's so important to kind of take a step back, take a moment, slow down for a second, and think to yourself, wow, I'm really thankful that my heart is beating, right? And I'm not having a heart attack, or that my lungs work, or that I wake up and I feel great in the morning, right? I don't have cancer, hopefully, just to be grateful for your health. Personal growth is incredibly important to me. I think if you stop growing, then you basically you just start to die, right? Get busy living or get busy dying. If you guys know that quote, drop a comment in the drop a comment in the comments as well. That's one of my favorite quotes from Morgan Freeman, which will help some people if you don't know. Income is very important to me. Obviously, it's important to some people. Some people, they're more concerned with other things. But to me, if I'm going to be completely honest, and maybe it makes me sound like a butthead, but income is super important to me. Friends, family, spouse, and a partner, right? The person you choose to spend your life with, you'll probably spend more time one-on-one with them than anyone else. And so these are my top 6. Independence, influence, and power, right? I love, being influential to people, having an impact on people's lives. It makes me feel fulfilled personally. Um, Stimulating and rewarding work is very important. I had kind of the accounting job, kind of the stereotypical job that was very monotonous and tedious, and it was not rewarding at all. I was just literally crunching numbers in a calculator, and that was not something that I could ever see myself doing for the long term, right? And so wealth, where I live, it's very important to me. I follow the sun. Just, some people love the cold or the snow or the rain, and I love the rain too if I'm reading or something like that, but just to be honest with myself, I love the sun. Where I live is incredibly important to me. So these are the 6 that I cut. And then what are your values, right? And so we had that big long list of values. From those values, I chose these 14. And what I like to do then is narrow your list to 10 and then look at each set of 2 and say, if I could satisfy only one of these, which would I choose? And then basically once you're done with that, you can have the correct order. So let's cut out 4 of these. So ambition, creativity is super important to me, continuously improving, enthusiasm, exploration, freedom is so important, right? Intelligence, I have some of my best friends are not very intelligent, just kidding. But, maybe I could cut that one. Openness, positivity is so important, right? Success is not that important to me because that's a very generic word. Success can mean so many different things. I think it's so important to be thankful. Ambition, some people are happy without being particularly ambitious. And then maybe we could also cut spontaneity. So, these are probably the most important to me. Freedom is probably one of the most important. Freedom, happiness, positivity. Let's order these correctly. So, creativity and enthusiasm. Honesty, openness, continuous improvement. So these would kind of be my order, right? And so the numbering's off, obviously, but these would be my top 10 in order, right? Freedom is happiness to me, right? Positivity goes right in hand with that. Thankfulness, creativity, enthusiasm, honesty, exploration, openness, and continuously improving, right? And so to summarize, I know this has been a long video. If you're still watching, then thank you. I hope that it's helpful for you. I still feel kind of strange sharing my personal type things, but if it's helpful, please tell me. If you want me to do more videos like this, I'm kind of more in the trenches, teaching people exactly how to do it from a tutorial perspective, but there is kind of that duality, like I mentioned before. If you have all of the knowledge in the world, if you don't know what you want and you don't have the motivation to kind of put that knowledge to use, then none of it matters, right? So there's 2 parts. If you guys do like this kind of motivational, kind of self-help, figuring out what you want, right? Clarity about what you want from life and to be fulfilled, tell me in the comments, because I promise I'll make more videos like this. Or if people just prefer me teaching people straight up tutorials on software and Amazon and Shopify, I can do that too. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's summarize really quick. What in the end is most important to me? So health, passion, and happiness are most important to me. Without health, you have nothing. Without passion, you don't really have meaning. And without happiness, obviously, none of it matters at all, right? So those are the most important 3 to me. I looked through all of my different answers and really thought to myself quietly, which is very hard for me to do, to be honest, because I'm so kind of go, go, go. But I sat for 20 minutes and I really thought about this. And those, I'm sure now, are my 3 most important portions of my life. So how do I get that? I get that by traveling, right? I get that by, until I've seen everything that I want to see, and then I want to settle somewhere in like a paradise. It doesn't have to be the USA. I think the USA, I just think that because it's where I'm from, it's where I'm comfortable, but it's not necessarily what I want, right? So settling in a paradise beach town, maybe San Diego in the USA would be one choice. I want to buy a house with a pool. I want to buy a fun car. I want to passionately create content that others find true value in, right? And I want to have a positive impact on people's lives, as many people as I possibly can touch and reach and help set free financially and, from a emotional perspective. Then that will make me feel most fulfilled and most happy, right? And most passionate. I want to own a hostel, right? I want to be specific with these guys, and I want you to also. I want to own a hostel or a place that travelers, right, other travelers, young people can get together. We can share experiences. We can talk about each other's lives. You know, it's so beautiful and amazing to me meeting other people who have such different lives from me, right? Like I met this guy from Cambodia who was working on a rice farm until he was 18 and then worked his way up from a hotel valet up until a manager, right? And he's making a significant amount of money for Cambodia, and it's just so amazing hearing about, you know, because at the end of the day, we're all people, but we live such different lives. And so it's so important to me to own some type of place where people can congregate and be happy and share experiences. And so I'd love to own a hostel. And I'd love to own a music venue where musicians can come and I can experience their art and their creativity and, you know, listen to the type of music that I love. So the final thing, what do I want to do to feel fulfilled, right? And so for me, fulfillment comes from teaching people what I've learned, you know, and what I know for a fact to be true, that anyone can be free. They just need to know how. They need the experience and confidence to start, and they need to never ever give up, right? Point every portion of your life towards that one goal with laser focus until you get it. And I'd love to create a company, right? I'd love to have employees. I'd love to, you know, have people look up to me and look to me for leadership. And I'd love to be able to support people's entire lives financially. I'd love to take a company public, and I'd love to make all of my employees millionaires and completely change their life, the course of their lives and their families' lives and their children's lives. And I'd love to create a software platform that enables people to, you know, create more financial freedom for themselves than was otherwise available, right? For me, that was ClickFunnels, that was Facebook, that is Google, right? I want to create a company that really impacts people's lives where, you know, before my company existed, they just weren't able to do the same things. And the last thing, guys, I need to feel that what I did, right, I did and I saw everything that I ever wanted to do. And whether that means that I went to every country that I ever wanted to see, or I did everything, skydiving, bungee jumping, swimming with sharks, everything that I ever wanted to see or do, I did. And I want to feel that I lived in the moment and I enjoyed every single opportunity, right? Too often I see people, you know, rushing around on vacations, not even enjoying it, just trying to get to the next thing, take the next picture, right? But slowing down and actually enjoying every single moment and being grateful for every single second of every single moment of every day is what I need to do to feel fulfilled, right? And so the very last thing, guys, is I want to form real connections with people. Whether that's, you know, people that I meet through my travels. I still talk to people every day that I met in Florianopolis, Brazil, and I still talk to people every day that I met in Croatia years ago. And I want to form real, true, passionate relationships with those people as friends, with the woman that I choose to, you know, be with for the rest of my life, if I do choose to do that, right? With my family, with my friends and family, with my mom and dad, right? So I just want to feel like everything that I ever wanted, I did. And so for me, that is how I feel fulfilled, guys. And so I hope this was helpful for you. It was honestly very hard for me to kind of open up my life in this way and share it with people. But, you know, if it does manage to help even one of you guys figure out what you want from life and what you need to feel fulfilled, then it was worth it. So we'll see you guys next time. You make me